Have you ever faced rejection or criticism and felt like it was the end of the road? Maybe you've been passed over for a job, ignored by a friend, or had your ideas dismissed. How do you deal with those moments? Do they knock you down? Or can you use them to your advantage? What if rejection didn't have to be a blow to your ego, but instead could become a stepping stone to personal power and growth? Welcome to our channel. In today's video, we're diving deep into one of the most powerful Stoic techniques using reverse psychology to turn rejection into fuel for your success. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, understood that how we react to challenges is often more important than the challenges themselves. Rejection doesn't have to weaken you. It can be the perfect opportunity to strengthen your character and sharpen your mind. We'll guide you through 10 incredible Stoic techniques that will teach you how to embrace rejection, use it as a tool for growth, and come out stronger on the other side. You'll learn how to reframe rejection, detach from external validation, and build resilient skills that will serve you not only in difficult moments, but throughout your entire life. Stick around until the very end, because the final technique is a game changer. It has the power to completely alter how you approach setbacks and help you turn every rejection into an empowering moment of clarity and strength. You won't want to miss it. 1. Detach from external validation. Imagine yourself as a tree standing in a vast forest. The branches stretch towards the sky, and the roots are firmly planted in the earth. Now, picture a gust of wind pushing and pulling at your branches. If the tree is swayed by every gust, it will eventually break. But if the tree stands firm, unaffected by each wind, it continues to grow and thrive. This is similar to how we should approach external validation in life. External validation is like the wind. It comes and goes. Sometimes it's gentle, like a compliment, and other times it's harsh, like criticism. If we rely on this wind to determine how we feel about ourselves, we will constantly be at the mercy of others' opinions. Our growth becomes dependent on unpredictable forces outside of our control. A Stoic mindset encourages detaching from the need for validation. This doesn't mean ignoring feedback or refusing to appreciate when others acknowledge your efforts. Rather, it means recognizing that your value is intrinsic and doesn't fluctuate with the opinions of others. Your worth isn't tied to the approval of the people around you. In practice, detaching from external validation can be applied by first understanding the difference between approval and self-assurance. When we receive a compliment, it can feel good, but it's essential to remember that the validation doesn't define our abilities or self-worth. A compliment is simply a reflection of someone else's perspective. It is temporary and external. When we seek approval, we become like a tree that is always bending with the wind, never allowing our true form to emerge. To truly detach, you can start by reflecting on your accomplishments and strengths without relying on others to affirm them. Take moments each day to appreciate your own progress. Write down things you've done well and acknowledge your own efforts, even if no one else notices. This is like watering the roots of your tree. It nourishes the parts of you that are unaffected by external circumstances. Another powerful exercise is to practice negative visualization, a common Stoic technique. This involves imagining the worst-case scenario. What would happen if no one ever complimented or praised you again? Could you still find meaning and purpose in your actions? By preparing mentally for this, you can reduce your dependence on the approval of others. It reminds you that your worth is not contingent on others' perceptions, but on your own principles and actions. When you detach from external validation, you free yourself from the constant chase for recognition. You no longer waste energy trying to please everyone around you, which allows you to focus on what truly matters, aligning your actions with your values. Like the tree that stands firm in the storm, you will become rooted in your own sense of self, allowing you to weather any criticism or praise with equal grace. By embracing this principle, you will cultivate a sense of inner peace that remains steady, regardless of how others see you. The winds may blow, but your tree will stand tall. 2. Embrace obstacles as opportunities. In life, obstacles often appear like towering mountains blocking our path, seemingly insurmountable and discouraging. But in Stoic philosophy, these obstacles are not barriers. They are opportunities to grow and become stronger. To understand this better, imagine a river trying to flow through a dense forest. The trees and rocks may seem like obstacles, but they guide the river's course, shaping it and giving it direction. Without these obstacles, the river would simply be a stagnant body of water. Similarly, obstacles in life aren't meant to stop us, but to redirect us, challenge us, and ultimately shape us into better versions of ourselves. Instead of feeling defeated by difficulties, we can view them as the tools that forge our character, just as a blacksmith uses fire and pressure to mold metal. The more we face challenges head-on, the more resilient we become. One of the best examples of embracing obstacles comes from the life of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who, despite being born into slavery, never allowed his circumstances to define him. He saw his situation not as an obstacle, but as an opportunity to practice resilience and virtue. He didn't let the external conditions of his life govern his peace of mind. Instead, he cultivated inner strength by focusing on what he could control: his thoughts, actions, and reactions. In practical terms, this Stoic practice encourages us to shift our mindset. When we encounter an obstacle, whether it's a challenging project at work, a personal struggle, or any unexpected setback, we can ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? By doing so, we transform a potentially frustrating situation into one that will ultimately contribute to our personal growth. In everyday life, it could mean facing criticism with calmness, using failure as an opportunity to learn, or even turning a setback into motivation for improvement. Imagine a runner who trips and falls during a race. Instead of dwelling on the mistake, they can use the fall as a lesson, a reminder to stay focused and more aware of their surroundings in the future. This is a way of embracing obstacles not as failures, but as lessons that prepare us for future success. The Stoic idea of turning obstacles into opportunities is also about the way we choose to respond. When we encounter difficulties, we have the power to decide how we will react. Will we give in to frustration, or will we rise above, using the obstacle as a stepping stone to something greater? A great Stoic would choose the latter, seeing every challenge as an invitation to become more virtuous, patient, and wise. Remember, life is full of obstacles, but they don't have to define our path. Like a river that winds through the forest, we too can navigate through life's challenges, letting each obstacle refine us rather than hinder us. So, next time you face a difficulty, ask yourself, how can I use this to grow? What opportunity lies in this challenge? Embrace it, and you'll find that obstacles become your greatest teachers. 3. Reframe rejection. Rejection is one of the most universally painful experiences we encounter in life. Whether it's a job application, a romantic relationship, or an idea we've pitched, rejection can leave us feeling dejected, unworthy, and defeated. However, Stoicism offers a powerful tool for transforming this negative experience into an opportunity for growth and self-reflection. The Stoic practice of reframing rejection involves looking at it from a different perspective, viewing it not as a personal failure, but as a chance to improve, learn, and realign with what is truly important. Imagine you are an archer aiming for a target. You fire an arrow, but it misses. Instead of thinking of the miss as a failure, you adjust your aim, learn from the shot, and try again with a clearer sense of direction. Rejection works in the same way. Just as an archer uses each shot to improve their technique, each rejection is an opportunity to reassess, reorient, and refine our approach. One famous Stoic, Marcus Aurelius, taught that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This means that rather than allowing rejection to stop us, we can use it as a catalyst for further action. Instead of seeing rejection as a wall, we can view it as a doorway, leading us to new paths, perspectives, and ideas. For example, the renowned inventor Thomas Edison, when faced with repeated failure and rejection, famously said, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Edison's mindset perfectly captures the Stoic approach to rejection. Instead of viewing failure as the end, he saw it as part of the journey toward eventual success. Every no was not a dead end, but a redirection towards something better. This mindset can be applied in everyday life, whether it's a project that didn't go as planned or a relationship that didn't work out. Reframing rejection also involves understanding that much of the rejection we face is not personal. It is often tied to external factors beyond our control. For example, when a job opportunity slips away, it's easy to think we're not good enough. But in reality, the reasons behind such rejections can be vast. Perhaps the company had internal politics, or another candidate simply had a slightly different skill set. This insight helps us detach from the idea that rejection is a judgment of our worth. We are not our failures, and rejection does not define us. In practice, reframing rejection means accepting the things we cannot control and focusing our energy on the things we can, our responses and actions. When we encounter rejection, we can ask ourselves questions such as, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this experience? This shift in perspective makes rejection feel less like an attack and more like a tool for personal development. For instance, imagine a person rejected from a job interview. Instead of feeling defeated, they might ask for feedback and use that information to improve for the next opportunity. Perhaps they will seek additional training or refine their interview skills. In this way, rejection becomes part of the learning process, a stepping stone toward greater self-improvement and, ultimately, success. Reframing rejection is not about avoiding the pain of disappointment, it's about recognizing that we have control over how we respond. Just as the Stoics emphasized the importance of focusing on what that is within our power, we can choose to use rejection as an opportunity to refine our character, hone our skills, and remain steadfast on our path toward personal and professional growth. Rejection, when viewed through the lens of Stoicism, becomes not an obstacle, but a tool shaping us into stronger, wiser, and more resilient individuals. 4. Focus on what you can control. One of the central tenets of Stoicism is the concept of focusing on what is within our control and letting go of the rest. This principle is not just about avoiding stress or frustration, it's about acknowledging that, in life, there are very few things we have direct control over, but there are many things we can influence through our own thoughts and actions. Think of life as a stormy sea. While we cannot control the waves or the wind, we do have the power to adjust our sails and steer the boat. The waves may crash against us, and the winds may blow in directions we didn't anticipate, but how we respond to these external forces is entirely in our hands. This metaphor captures the Stoic idea perfectly. External events are often beyond our control, but how we react to them, how we choose to respond, is where our true power lies. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers and Roman emperors, famously said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This encapsulates the Stoic view that while we cannot always influence external events, we can always control how we perceive them and how we act in response. The key is shifting our focus inward on our own thoughts, attitudes, and reactions. Applying this principle to daily life can be incredibly liberating. For instance, if someone criticizes your work or personal choices, it may sting. But instead of allowing that criticism to define your self-worth or spiral into self-doubt, you can focus on what you can control. Ask yourself, how can I improve from this feedback? What actions can I take to address this situation? This shift in focus moves the power back to you, rather than leaving you feeling powerless and reactive. In practice, focusing on what you can control is a form of emotional intelligence. It involves detaching from the external world's chaos and redirecting your energy toward constructive actions. A Stoic would recognize that it's futile to get upset about things like the weather, other people's opinions, or traffic. Instead, they would focus on the actions they can take preparing for the day ahead, staying grounded in their values, or maintaining a sense of calm and equanimity no matter what happens. Moreover, focusing on what we can control also means accepting that there will always be uncertainties in life. While we can't predict or change the future, we can control our preparation, our mindset, and our ability to adapt to whatever challenges arise. It's about being proactive instead of reactive. For example, if you are facing a challenging project at work, you may not have control over deadlines, team dynamics, or client expectations. However, you do have control over how you organize your time, the effort you put in, and the quality of your work. By focusing on these aspects, you remain grounded and proactive in the face of external pressures. In relationships, focusing on what you can control means respecting other people's choices and actions, but not trying to change them. You cannot control how others behave, but you can control how you react to them. You can choose to respond with patience, understanding, and kindness, rather than with frustration or anger. This kind of emotional regulation, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, strengthens relationships and helps maintain inner peace. Ultimately, focusing on what you can control is about freeing yourself from unnecessary worrying and anxiety. It allows you to stop obsessing over the uncontrollable and start putting your energy where it can make a real difference on your own thoughts, actions, and reactions. In the words of Epictetus, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. By embracing this Stoic wisdom, we can find peace, build resilience, and navigate life's challenges with grace and composure. 5. Understand that rejection is not personal. Rejection can feel like a punch to the gut. It brings with it feelings of inadequacy, hurt, and sometimes self-doubt. Whether it's a failed job application, a relationship that didn't work out, or an idea that's been shot down, rejection can make us question our worth. However, the Stoic philosophy teaches us to understand that rejection is not personal, it's simply a part of life that we must learn to accept. Imagine you're walking down a road and someone pushes you aside. It may sting in the moment, but if you stop to reflect, you'll realize the action was not necessarily about you, it's just the result of their own actions, their own intentions, or their own state of mind. Similarly, rejection is often more about the circumstances, preferences, or limitations of others, rather than an indictment of your character or abilities. Take, for example, a job interview where you don't get hired. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't smart enough. But from a Stoic perspective, We understand that the rejection was likely influenced by external factors. Perhaps the company was looking for a different skill set, or B, the timing wasn't right. These factors have nothing to do with your personal worth, yet our natural inclination is to internalize them as a reflection of our inadequacy. This mindset can trap us in negative thought cycles that hinder growth and self-improvement. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Rejection, therefore, should not be seen as a personal failure, but rather as an opportunity for growth. When we internalize rejection as personal, we make it about ourselves, and this leads to negative emotions like shame and frustration. However, when we view rejection as a neutral event, something external to us, it becomes an opportunity to learn, grow, and refine our approach. Rejection is often the result of factors we cannot control, and thus, it's futile to take it personally. Stoicism teaches us to focus on the things that are within our control, such as our actions, responses, and attitudes. If we allow rejection to define us, we give away our power. However, if we see rejection for what it truly is, an external event that has little to do with our intrinsic value, we reclaim our power and freedom. For example, imagine you're an artist who submits a painting to a gallery only to have it rejected. It's easy to think, "My work isn't good enough," or "I'll never succeed." But in Stoic terms, that rejection is not a comment on your abilities or worth as a person. It simply reflects the preferences of the gallery curators at that moment in time. It's important to remember that rejection is subjective. It depends on the person or situation you're dealing with, and that's beyond your control. What is in your control is how you respond to it. A key Stoic practice is to remind yourself that no one can truly reject who you are as a person. Rejection, at its core, is not a reflection of your value. It's simply a result of external factors which are beyond your influence. By separating the external event, the rejection, from your internal self-worth, you prevent rejection from diminishing your confidence or morale. One of the most effective ways to embrace this Stoic wisdom is to regularly remind yourself that everyone faces rejection, regardless of how talented, skilled, or worthy they are. Even the greatest minds and most accomplished people have been rejected at some point in their lives. Albert Einstein was rejected from multiple universities before he became one of the most celebrated scientists of all time. J.K. Rowling's manuscript for Harry Potter was rejected by several publishers before it went on to become a global phenomenon. If these successful people had taken rejection personally, they might have given up on their dreams, but they instead used rejection as fuel for perseverance and growth. Similarly, understanding that rejection is not personal can help us build resilience. It encourages us to view rejection as a temporary setback, not a permanent judgment on our abilities. The Stoic practice of focusing on what we can control helps us avoid unnecessary self-criticism and instead focus on improving ourselves in the face of rejection. For example, if your proposal or idea is rejected, rather than sulking in disappointment, you can focus on how you can refine it, learn from the feedback, and try again. In relationships, the same principle applies. Rejection doesn't necessarily mean that something is wrong with you. Sometimes, people grow apart, or they may have different needs or desires. Understanding that rejection is not personal helps prevent you from taking it as a reflection of your worth, allowing you to move forward without unnecessary emotional baggage. In essence, embracing the Stoic mindset allows us to depersonalize rejection. It helps us to separate ourselves from the external circumstances that we cannot control and focus instead on our own growth and response. By accepting that rejection is not a comment on our personal value, we free ourselves from unnecessary pain and open the door to greater resilience and wisdom. As Epictetus advised, Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well. Rejection is just one of those things. It's not about you, and it doesn't define you. 6. Practice self-reflection and improvement. Self-reflection is an essential part of the Stoic practice and a powerful tool for growth. It involves taking time to step back, evaluate our actions, thoughts, and emotions, and understand why we think and act the way we do. This practice not only helps us become more aware of ourselves, but also provides the clarity needed to improve and evolve. Imagine you're navigating a boat through a vast ocean. If you sail without checking your course, it's easy to drift off track without realizing it. However, by pausing periodically to check your map and adjust your direction, you ensure that you are headed toward your desired destination. Self-reflection is the compass that helps us stay on the right course in life. It gives us the ability to step back and evaluate whether our actions align with our values and goals, and if they don't, it helps us make necessary adjustments. The Stoics believed in the importance of examining one's life. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, regularly practiced self-reflection in his journals, reminding himself to stay true to his principles and values. He would often ask himself, "What did I do well today? Where could I improve?" This habit allowed him to learn from his experiences and continuously refine his character. His approach highlights the Stoic belief that we should not wait for external events or circumstances to change in order to improve ourselves. We have the power to shape our thoughts and actions through self-reflection. The process of self-reflection is deeply personal and can take many forms. It can be as simple as taking a few minutes at the end of each day to think about your actions, thoughts, and emotional responses. Did you act with patience, wisdom, and kindness? Were there moments where you could have handled situations better? Were there areas where you could have shown more restraint or control over your emotions? By asking these questions, we gain insight into our behavior and the areas in which we can improve. One powerful Stoic practice is journaling. Keeping a journal provides a structured way to reflect on your thoughts and experiences. By writing down your thoughts, you can identify patterns in your behavior, recognize your strengths, and acknowledge areas for improvement. This self-reflection process helps you become more mindful of your actions and allows you to make conscious choices to align your behavior with your values. Another form of self-reflection is practicing mindfulness throughout the day. This involves being fully present in each moment, observing your thoughts, emotions, and reactions without judgment. For example, if you find yourself feeling angry or frustrated in a situation, rather than reacting impulsively, take a moment to pause and reflect on why you feel that way. What is triggering this emotion? Is it something you can control? Or is it beyond your influence? By observing your emotions without judgment, you gain clarity and the opportunity to choose how you respond. Self-reflection also encourages honesty with ourselves. It's easy to fall into the trap of making excuses or justifying our actions, especially when things don't go as planned. However, Stoicism teaches us to take full responsibility for our actions and to face the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Acknowledging our mistakes and learning from them is an essential step in the process of self-improvement. This doesn't mean being overly harsh on ourselves, but rather accepting that we are all works in progress and that growth requires a willingness to confront our flaws and limitations. By engaging in regular self-reflection, we become more aware of our thought patterns, beliefs, and behaviors. We begin to recognize where we might be holding onto irrational fears or false beliefs, and we can replace them with more constructive and rational ways of thinking. Self-reflection helps us develop a deeper understanding of our true selves, which in turn enables us to live a more intentional and purposeful life. 7. Cultivate inner peace through acceptance. Inner peace is often thought of as a serene state of being, free from the turbulence of external circumstances. However, true peace comes not from avoiding the challenges of life, but from learning to accept them with grace and wisdom. Cultivating inner peace through acceptance is one of the core practices of Stoicism, and it has the power to transform the way you approach life's difficulties. Imagine standing on the edge of a river, watching the water flow by. No matter how hard you try to stop the current, it will continue moving forward. The same principle applies to the events in our lives. We cannot control what happens around us, but we can control how we respond. Acceptance is the key to finding peace in the face of uncertainty, hardship, and even rejection. The Stoics teach us that suffering and hardship are an inevitable part of life. Rather than resisting or fighting against these difficulties, we should accept them as part of the natural course of things. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, famously said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." This idea lies at the heart of Stoicism. We cannot control the events that unfold in our lives, but we can control our thoughts and reactions to those events. Acceptance does not mean passive resignation or indifference. It means acknowledging that life is full of challenges and that these challenges provide opportunities for growth and learning. When we accept things as they are, we stop wasting energy fighting against reality. We let go of the need to control everything and instead focus on what we can change, our own thoughts and attitudes. In practice, cultivating inner peace through acceptance requires us to shift our mindset. For example, when faced with an obstacle, instead of immediately feeling frustrated or angry, take a moment to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this situation? How can I use this challenge to grow stronger? By reframing difficulties as opportunities for growth, you develop a mindset that embraces change and uncertainty. Acceptance also means letting go of attachment to specific outcomes. The Stoics believed that the desire for things to unfold in a particular way often leads to disappointment and suffering. By releasing attachment to outcomes, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and anxiety. When you stop fixating on how things should be and instead focus on how you can respond with wisdom, you experience a sense of peace regardless of the circumstances. Another important aspect of acceptance is recognizing that life is temporary and constantly changing. The Stoics understood that everything, from our relationships to our achievements, is fleeting. This awareness of impermanence helps us embrace each moment without clinging to it. When we accept the transient nature of life, we are better able to live in the present and appreciate the beauty of the here and now. By cultivating inner peace through acceptance, you create a solid foundation of resilience that allows you to navigate life's ups and downs with equanimity. This peace is not dependent on external conditions, but is rooted in your ability to remain grounded and centered no matter what comes your way. To integrate this Stoic practice into your life, start by acknowledging the things you cannot control. Instead of resisting them, practice accepting them with an open mind and heart. Recognize that your true power lies not in changing the world around you, but in changing how you view and respond to it. With time and practice, you'll find that your ability to stay calm, centered, and at peace increases, no matter the challenges you face. If you found this video helpful, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more Stoic insights and practical wisdom. Your feedback means a lot to us and helps us continue to provide valuable content to support your journey toward inner peace and resilience. 8. Understand the role of fate in life. Life is unpredictable. No matter how much we plan, how hard we work, or how carefully we consider every step, things don't always go according to plan. Fate, in many ways, is an uncontrollable force that shapes the course of our lives. While this might seem unsettling, the Stoics believed that understanding the role of fate is essential for cultivating tranquility and wisdom. In Stoic philosophy, fate is viewed as the natural order of the universe. Events that happen are the result of a vast web of causes and effects that are beyond our individual control. The Stoics believed that accepting the role of fate in our lives helps us to live with less frustration and anxiety. Instead of trying to control the uncontrollable, we can focus on how we react to the circumstances that fate presents. Marcus Aurelius, a key Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, frequently wrote about the importance of understanding and accepting fate. In his Meditations, he reflects, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." What he means is that the events we experience are not inherently good or bad, they are simply events. How we interpret them and how we respond is what determines their impact on our lives. Think of fate like the wind. You cannot control its direction or its intensity, but you can adjust your sails to navigate it effectively. In this sense, fate presents us with opportunities to practice our virtue. When things don't go the way we expect, it's an opportunity to demonstrate patience, resilience, and acceptance. To embrace this Stoic practice, it's important to distinguish between what is within your control and what is not. The Stoics referred to this as the dichotomy of control. Things that are in our control include our thoughts, our actions, and our attitudes. Everything else, such as other people's actions, the weather, or unforeseen circumstances, lies outside our control. When we focus on what we can influence and let go of what we cannot, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering and frustration. For example, let's say you are working on a project and despite your best efforts, things go awry. Perhaps a colleague doesn't deliver their part on time, or external conditions change, causing delays. You can't control these outside factors, but you can control your response. Instead of becoming angry or stressed, recognize that fate has presented you with a challenge. Use this opportunity to adapt, adjust your approach, and remain calm. Accepting the role of fate also involves cultivating a sense of gratitude for what you have, even when things don't go as planned. It's easy to be frustrated by what we lack or by circumstances that don't align with our desires. However, when we recognize that life is full of surprises and that each experience, whether perceived as good or bad, is part of the larger picture of our existence, we can learn to appreciate it for what it is. To practice this Stoic lesson, reflect on your current challenges, consider the aspects of your life that feel out of your control, and instead of resisting them, accept them as part of the journey. By embracing fate, you'll find that you have more peace and mental clarity, and less anxiety over things that are beyond your influence. This understanding of fate doesn't mean that we become passive or resigned to our circumstances. Rather, it frees us from the need to control everything and empowers us to focus on what truly matters: how we live in response to life's challenges. By accepting the role of fate, we can live with greater wisdom, grace, and resilience. Remember, just as the sailor cannot command the winds, we cannot command the events of life, but we can control how we navigate through them. 9. Practice self-discipline in the face of rejection. Rejection, in any form, can feel like a blow to the ego. Whether it's being turned down for a job, a failed relationship, or an unfulfilled expectation, rejection can trigger feelings of inadequacy or self-doubt. However, Stoicism teaches us that rejection is not a reflection of our worth, but rather an opportunity to practice self-discipline and strengthen our character. Self-discipline, in the context of Stoicism, refers to the ability to control our impulses, emotions, and reactions, especially in challenging situations. Instead of giving in to feelings of frustration, anger, or despair, Stoics emphasize the importance of responding with calm, rationality, and grace. Rejection is an inevitable part of life, but how we react to it is completely within our control. The Stoics believed that we cannot control the events that happen to us, but we can control how we respond to those events. For instance, when faced with rejection, instead of letting our emotions dictate our actions, we can practice self-discipline by choosing a thoughtful and constructive response. This might mean accepting the rejection gracefully, reflecting on what we can learn from the experience, and continuing to pursue our goals with renewed focus. Seneca, a prominent Stoic philosopher, offers a valuable insight when he writes, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor devours the body." In other words, challenges like rejection, not setbacks, they are opportunities to develop resilience and inner strength. Just as lifting weights strengthens the muscles, experiencing and overcoming rejection strengthens our emotional and mental endurance. Consider the example of a professional athlete who is repeatedly rejected by coaches or teams. Instead of giving up or allowing the rejection to define their self-worth, the athlete can use this as an opportunity to practice self-discipline. They can work harder, improve their skills, and stay focused on their long-term goals. In this way, rejection becomes a stepping stone to greater success, not a barrier to it. In everyday life, practicing self-discipline in the face of rejection means resisting the temptation to indulge in negative self-talk or destructive behaviors. Instead of letting rejection spiral into feelings of hopelessness or frustration, we can choose to respond with a calm and measured approach. This might involve taking a step back, reflecting on the situation, and focusing on what we can control moving forward. One of the most powerful aspects of self-discipline is the ability to maintain a sense of perspective. Rejection, while painful, is rarely as catastrophic as it may initially seem. The Stoics remind us that everything is temporary, and our reactions to life's challenges should be proportional to the situation at hand. Instead of overreacting or wallowing in negativity, we can remind ourselves that rejection is part of the human experience, and it does not define us. Another key element of self-discipline is perseverance. Even when we face setbacks or disappointments, we must stay focused on our goals and continue taking steps toward them. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that obstacles, including rejection, can be transformed into opportunities for growth and progress. Rather than seeing rejection as an obstacle to our success, we can view it as an opportunity to refine our approach and become better at what we do. In conclusion, practicing self-discipline in the face of rejection involves mastering our emotional reactions and responding with rationality, perseverance, and grace. By doing so, we not only overcome rejection, but also grow stronger and more resilient in the process. Rejection is not the end. It is merely a part of the journey toward personal growth and success. 10. Learn from every rejection and use it as fuel. Rejection is often viewed as a negative experience, something to be avoided or feared. Yet, in Stoic philosophy, it is seen as an invaluable opportunity for growth. Rather than allowing rejection to defeat us, the Stoics encourage us to embrace it and use it as a source of motivation and strength. The key to transforming rejection into fuel are understanding that every rejection carries with it a lesson, an opportunity to refine our approach and improve ourselves. Just as a blacksmith uses the fire to forge metal into something stronger, we can use the heat of rejection to forge a stronger character and a clearer sense of purpose. In Stoicism, the idea of using obstacles and challenges as stepping stones to growth is central. Rejection is no different. It's not about avoiding or resisting it, but about accepting it and reflecting on what it can teach us. When we face rejection, our first reaction might be disappointment or frustration. However, instead of dwelling on the negative emotions, we can ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? What could I have done differently? How can this help me improve? By reflecting on rejection in this way, we begin to see it not as an end, but as a necessary part of the journey towards success. Take the example of Thomas Edison, who famously failed thousands of times before successfully inventing the light bulb. Each rejection, each failed attempt, was not a reason for him to quit, but a lesson in perseverance and adaptation. He saw each failure as part of the process, learning from each one and using it as fuel to keep going. His mindset mirrors that of the Stoics, who believe that it is not the event itself that determines our fate, but how we respond to it. In the same way, we can approach rejection in our own lives, whether it's a professional setback, a personal failure, or any form of rejection. We can ask ourselves how we can use that experience to grow stronger. Instead of seeing rejection as a reflection of our worth, we can see it as an opportunity to refine our skills, improve our approach, and become more resilient. This mindset shift is crucial in transforming rejection from something painful into something productive. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This powerful quote reminds us that rejection is not something that should stop us in our tracks. Instead, it is something that can propel us forward. When we encounter rejection, we are faced with two choices. We can either let it defeat us, or we can use it to propel ourselves further down the path of growth and achievement. In practice, this means taking the time to reflect on each rejection, to understand what went wrong, and to learn from it. Perhaps it's a mistake we made, a misstep in our approach, or a weakness we need to address. Rejection is an invitation to evaluate our actions and behavior and to improve. It challenges us to look inward and ask, what can I do better? How can I be stronger next time? In this way, rejection becomes a tool for self-improvement and a catalyst for change. Furthermore, learning from rejection also involves letting go of the fear of failure. Often, we hesitate to take risks or pursue our goals because we are afraid of being rejected. However, by reframing rejection as a valuable teacher rather than a punishment, we free ourselves from the fear that holds us back. We learn that rejection does not define us, it refines us. To wrap up, rejection doesn't mark the end of the journey, but an opportunity to grow and refine ourselves. By adopting a Stoic mindset and embracing the lessons that rejection offers, we transform obstacles into stepping stones toward greater wisdom and resilience. The Stoics teach us that it is not the rejection itself that defines us, but how we respond to it. With each setback, we have the power to learn, adapt, and become stronger. Remember, rejection is a natural part of life, and the key to mastering it lies in using it as fuel for personal development. By practicing self-reflection, focusing on what you can control, and reframing rejection as an opportunity for growth, you can turn every challenge into a chance for self-improvement. Thank you for watching this video and exploring the power of Stoicism with us. If you found these lessons helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your feedback and support mean a lot to us and help us continue bringing you valuable content to enrich your life. Stay strong, stay focused, and remember that each rejection is simply a step closer to your best self. See you in the next video.